The housing market is very, very strong right now. And in this series of videos, I'm going to explore the reasons that just may be causing this. My name is Glenn Heslop with RE/MAX House of Real Estate. I've been involved in the housing business for a very, very long time as a realtor, a home builder, a house flipper, and a real estate investor. Now, as many of you may have noticed, despite the whole world being caught up in the COVID-19 crisis, the real estate market did not grind to a stop. No, after a very short pause last spring, 2020, houses began to sell again. Not only did they begin to sell, but they began to sell in greater quantities than before the crisis began. I began to see acreages sell that had been on the market for years without selling, like over $1 million acreages. And as 2020 progressed, the buyer's appetite for homes seemed to grow. And by the new year of this year, 2021, we seem to be in a bit of a housing boom. 732 homes in Calgary sold in January of 2021, and 500 of those in the last 2 weeks of January. Only 345 homes sold in the same month of 2020. A massive number of homes were sold virtually at asking price or even higher. And this would seem to indicate that there were more buyers wanting to buy them than homes available to buy. And in fact, in the spring of 2020, there were about 5 months of supply, enough homes for sale to supply the number that would sell in about 5 months. Now, right now, 2021, that number is about 2.46, or half the number. And under $500,000, that's significantly under two months. Now, in the last 90 days, 4,946, hear it, 4,946 homes have sold in Calgary alone. Now, you know how many sold in the same period a year earlier? 2,870. That's an over 70% growth in sales. That is just wild. The question to ask is, why is this happening? And how does it affect you? And that's what I'm going to tell you next. Now, our governments, federal and provincial, have poured huge piles of money into relief and supports and stimulus related to the COVID-19 crisis. The federal government alone has spent something like $250 billion, something in the order of $1 billion a day for 8 months. And it's not over yet. Now, you might remember the movie The Big Short. Now, if this were a movie, it might be called The Big Spend. As they were already spending more than tax revenues would allow, this money was either borrowed or simply printed out of thin air. They spent something in the order of $240 billion. This is the federal government alone. The provincial governments have also spent quite a bit more. Now, here is the Canadian money supply before the crisis began, and see how the money supply grew through 2020. Now, from my calculations, about 13 or 14% of newly created money added to the economy. Now, this is new money, not new value, but new money. Money is just a placeholder for value. It's kind of like the old stories of mom looking out the window and seeing an unexpected guest arriving at dinner time and just adding, quote, another cup of water to the soup. There's no more nutrition there. You're just able to divide the same nutrition into one more bowl. Now, this is the same thing here with Canada's money supply. If you increase the money supply by 13 or 14% by handing out $250 billion, you will simply have more dollars chasing the same value in goods and services. Now, what normally happens then is it will take about that percentage more dollars to buy the same goods and services than previously. This is known as inflation. To underscore this point, the National Post just published an article entitled "Inflation is Coming, Signs that Everything is About to Get More Expensive." In this article, Tristan Hopper outlines the case for the wave of inflation that's just about to hit our beaches. He gives an example of a $4 2x4 from 2020 that right now costs over $15. We are about to see what will maybe be a years-long tide of inflation sweeping our country and our world. Now, many believe that the smart money will seek limited assets to preserve their buying power. Things like gold, Bitcoin, and good residential real estate. Now, how does this affect the housing market here in Canada? In two ways. The first is that there seems to be more cash in Canadians' hands, so that the price they will pay for homes will naturally tend to rise to match the increase in the cash they have in hand. The second is the rise in the cost of building materials. A local tradesman recently told me that they normally expect around a 2% or so rise in their material costs every spring. Now this spring it's very different. Very, very different. The lowest increase in material costs I received was 8%. 8%, and the highest 29%. That's a massive increase. Now, lumber prices are also rising very quickly. Some types of lumber have doubled. And do you think the dramatic rise of costs of the building materials will affect the cost to build a new home? Now, very recently, I was speaking with an area manager for a large home builder in the area, and they have been told to stop selling pre-sale homes. Why? The lumber prices are going up so fast that they don't think they're going to be able to build them for the price they sell them for. They're going to have to try to arrange longer term contracts for lumber so that they can know what the homes are going to cost before they sell them. If the cost to build a new home rises, the price of pre-owned homes will tend to rise to match. Now, so you can imagine you're looking at a new build, and then you can see you can buy the same home a few years older, but with all the landscaping and fencing done, and massively cheaper. Well, what do? Well, you buy it, of course, and this pressure will then cause the price of pre-owned homes to rise along with the cost of a new build. So why is the housing market beginning to boom a little? One of the causes is inflation, because of all the money printing our governments have been doing during the COVID crisis. Now, some of this inflation has happened or is happening now, while many people are acting now to mitigate the anticipated massive inflation to come. Now, how does this affect you? Now, if you are looking to buy a home of your own and get into the real estate market, you might consider that inflation might make that perfect home more expensive for you down the road as time goes by, as time and inflation goes by. So if you're looking also to sell your home and upgrade, then this might be just that perfect time, because homes are selling fairly quickly and you may be able to get your home sold and then find that new perfect place before prices rise out of reach. Now, is this you? If you are looking at making a move in the next 3 to 6 months or so, my contact information is below. So you can contact me for a free, no obligation consultation about your real estate situation to see if this is the time that makes sense for you to make a move. Now watch here for more videos in this series of why is the housing market going nuts. Have a great weekend.